What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know how to use a timer app correctly and how long it should be set for to keep your creative powers at peak force? Well, I have good news for you. I put together a special report showing you how to do this. Normally it's $45, but since you're a loyal listener of the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time.
You're listening to the Inner Strength Show. If you want to step into your greatness, you've come to the right place. Here is your host, the human strength expert, Kyle Newell.
What's up, everybody? It's Kyle once again with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength. This is episode number 89. Today, we're going to go over some sleep science and success. So let me tell you a little bit of my history with sleep, my relationship with sleep. I guess it was probably going back as far as high school, where I actually during basketball season, my senior year, would start to wake up before school and train, then head to school, go to basketball, practice, or have a game after school. You know, when I was starting on the varsity team. Because at that point, this is, 20 years ago, it still wasn't that popular. And the coach thought, I used to have to beg him to open the weight room. I said, forget this. I'm too tired after the games. Let me just do it before school. So I started getting up early, but I was still going to bed at a decent time. Now, throughout the years when I was competing in bodybuilding shows, especially the first couple, I would implement caffeine usage to help with the fat loss. So coffee wasn't something that I normally did on a regular basis, but I would have it getting ready for the show. I believe it was Monday or Sundays and Thursdays. Those were the days I would look forward to. And I would literally wake up over the course of 90 minutes or so. I'd drink a whole pot of coffee while listening to Blink 182 at like 4 in the morning because I looked forward to it so much, that quiet time and just getting that buzz, and then headed off to the gym for my first workout. Somewhere in my head, as I started to read success books and I looked at the way I was behaving and getting up those early hours at that time, I bought into the lie of sleep is for the weak and you could only sleep when you're dead. And if you want to breathe as badly as you want to succeed, then you'll go without sleep. All this stupid stuff. And it became a very, very hard habit for me to break. And it's still something that I've got to be very mindful of. I wouldn't say I'm a workaholic, but being an entrepreneur, it's always on your mind, right? So that's why I've tried to turn my weakness, something I was writing about last week, into a strength, meaning harmony and balance is something that I've got tattooed on multiple spots on my body. Balance is right there. It's an ambigram. I got the triangle up here. All this stuff because it's been such a weakness of mine. So when I opened Newell Strength, I continued to buy into the lie of I've got to outwork everybody, meaning I have to sleep less. I don't need sleep. It doesn't apply to me, but it applies to everybody else. I would tell the clients, hey, you got to get your sleep, on and on and on. Yet I was not following my own advice. And it's silly because when I look at mind mapping, all the stuff I teach about the brain and I've learned about the brain, it's really useless if your brain isn't refreshing and recharging each and every day. Something I learned from Charles Poliquin about sleep was the basis of the circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm in humans is roughly, there are night owls and there's early birds, and they're a little different. But for the most part, it's 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's a natural circadian rhythm for most humans, meaning that's when your body is going to be tired and sleepy and when it needs its rest. Now, if you look at functional medicine, something we learned in biosignature, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is physical repair of the body. 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is psychological repair of the brain. What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know how to use a timer app correctly and how long it should be set for to keep your creative powers at peak force? Well, I have good news for you. I put together a special report showing you how to do this. Normally it's $45, but since you're a loyal listener of the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time. So many good things happen when we sleep. Now, let me explain a little bit of sleep as I'm reading this book called Why We Sleep. It's fascinating. But there's something called sleep pressure. As we wake up in the morning, from the moment we wake up, something called adenosine, and you may have heard of ATP or adenosine triphosphate. That's kind of how creatine phosphate works to provide more energy and bursts of power, cellular energy, I should say. Adenosine, though, builds up from the moment we wake up till it reaches a critical point, which makes us drowsy and sleepy, and it signals us it's time for bed. Now, when we sleep, our body kind of purges the adenosine, gets rid of it. And then we wake up as cortisol begins to rise in the morning. A few things with adenosine. If we're not sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night, we're never clearing out all the adenosine. So the next day you build up a little more. And this is where sleep debt happens. It happens with a lot of young new parents. And it's not something you can get rid of by just sleeping 10 hours in one day. It's going to take time. The longer you are in debt, just like with your finances or your bank, it might take you longer to get out of it. So adenosine, that's something to remember. All the years that I was getting up at 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, even the crazy years when I would get up at 2:30 a couple days a week so I could study and outwork everybody. Nothing productive ever got done at those times. I can remember sitting in front of the computer trying to write or study, and I'm just nodding off. And it was so tough. But I was doing the right thing because I was going to outwork everybody, even if I was tired the rest of the day. Now, as this carried on, as I did more bodybuilding shows, I remember I couldn't even keep my eyes open when I was teaching. First of all, I was in a severe diet, getting ready for a bodybuilding show, very, very lean. But I was sleeping like 4 hours a night. It was just stupid looking back at it. I could have done so much better if I slept more. So you think you're getting all this stuff done and you're outworking everybody. Really, you're getting up, and it's more of an ego thing and a pride thing. Nothing super productive gets done at that time for most people. You're not the exception. Don't think you are. As an interesting aside, there was a study, it's just got to be 13 years ago or so, or 10 years ago. I think it was called the Sleepless Elite. I think it was in the New York Times, if I recall correctly. And it was about a mother and daughter they had studied that had this gene where they actually only had to sleep 2 hours a night and they were perfectly fine. All their biomarkers and blood work were fine and the brain functioned perfectly. And it was a particular gene that they had. It's not that they were all trying to sleep 2 hours a night. That's all they would go to sleep, wake up, and they'd start and they'd go again. And there's different theories that people like Thomas Edison, who was famous for his cat naps, had this gene. And if you have that gene, that's fine, but it's very rare. So this idea that you have to sleep less to be successful is so stupid. It's going to be my focus for like the next year. I'm studying sleep. I'm studying the brain. And part of this is driven by when we do body count measurements at Newell Strength, we look at visceral fat based on the InBody. InBody is a $10,000 machine, and it gives us visceral fat readings. We want that at 10 or below. First of all, if your visceral fat is high, that indicates you're at higher risk for type 2 diabetes. So I could guarantee your HbA1c level, glycinated hemoglobin, is probably higher than it should be. You're at higher risk for stroke, heart disease, heart attack, all types of bad things, metabolic syndrome, and inflammation. So that's kind of my rant for sleep today. I know this is a shorter one, but I'm going to leave you with this. The way you get visceral fat down is you sleep and you manage stress. It's not dieting. It's not training. Until you get that under control, nothing's going to change in your life. If you want to be exceptional, performance is based on a well-rested brain. Okay, sleep is the best diet in the world. If you like this, please share it with somebody. Thank you for all the positive reviews. If you've not reviewed it yet on iTunes, please do so. And I'll be back next week with episode number 90. Peace.
You've been listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you enjoyed the show, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in iTunes.